What is up, guys? Fans here. I'm back today with another TOA monster spotlight. So basically, I'm just gonna go over some monsters that I think are pretty useful for TOA hard that I've been using quite a lot. And today we're actually gonna take a look at Bernard. Bernard's a really common monster. A lot of people use him to do giant speed 10. A lot of people, keep him at 5 stars and don't really actually use him after giant speed 10, but in my opinion, he is a really nice monster to take to 6 stars, especially for people that don't have Verd, the Fire Vampire. He kind of is. Some people refer to him as poor man's Verd because he provides a attack bar increase that lasts, that's 30%, but he also provides a speed buff that lasts 2 turns. So he's basically his main purpose in your team is to make sure everyone moves faster. So in a team that's already really speedy, if you're already faster than the enemy, and you have some sort of AOE slow, for example, Shannon with her AOE slow, you can slow down the enemy and speed buff your team up, and then this way you can get maybe 4 or 5 turns before the enemy gets one, depending on how fast your team is and how slow the enemy is, to begin with. But most of the time, your monsters in PvE are going to be much faster than the enemy, so um, usually Bernard's going to give you maybe just 1 or 2 more turns before the enemy moves once. Um, he also provides an attack power debuff, so this is really useful. Attack power debuff and armor break. So whenever you need to try to burst someone down, he has an armor break for that, and then he has an attack power debuff, which is really useful in high levels of TOA hard because this makes it so the monsters actually do a lot less damage. So I have him ruined like this. This is probably the way I yeah the way I just this is the way I ruin him for to do TOA hard. That's probably his main purpose is to just survive in harder dungeons and keep providing that speed buff for my team. At the same time, he can also serve as a win tank because his base HP is pretty good. He's also got a pretty good defense pool as well. Like you can kind of compare him to Taug. He pretty much has the same base HP as Talc, but he has much higher defense. So Bernard is a really nice unit that to use if you want to use him. I would say around the mid to high stages of TOA hard. You can use him as a wind tank to tank some fire damage. So a really good example is probably the Veramos double Perna stage. 2 months ago, I used Bernard to tank that stage, and that was the time I actually switched his runes over, and I haven't changed his runes since. So I pretty much just took out this rune, put in a defense percent rune, and he was able to tank the Pernos no problem. I think this month, if I want to clear that stage I think it's on 70 this month. I will need to probably power up this rune a bit. So I have him on Swift and Broken Set. Ideally, I'd probably still rune Swift Focus or Swift Guard or Swift Energy or Swift maybe Nemesis would even work just to get more turns. Nemesis will provide more turns. Guard or Energy will just make your Bernard tankier. I have him on Broken Set because I kind of need to have speed on 2, and I pretty much just used this Vampire rune because it had HP and defense, so it just had tanky stats pretty much. So speed and HP and defense with a little bit of accuracy and resistance. So I have just a little bit of accuracy, about 24%, around 200 speed on Bernard, and a little bit of resistance, and he's got around 21,000 HP or so. So we're gonna run him on. I'm not sure where I can run him to kind of show him off. I guess I showed the Dragons B10 run with a revive team yesterday. Um, I guess I'll do a random stage of TOA hard. I think that's a pretty good way to show it. So, a lot of times I do use Verd, but there are some stages where it's really just fire heavy, not fire heavy, water heavy. So there's a lot of water, and you can't use Verd. So I usually use Bernard in those cases. So I have a Bernard here. I'm gonna put in Bernard. I'm gonna put in I'll put in someone with an AoE slow. Actually, wait, I probably don't need AoE slow to clear this. I'm gonna run this with double heal, and stun. I'm going to run this with double heal and stun. So Bernard speed buff, attack debuff, double heal and stun. And we're going to see if this team is able to auto TOA 51. TOA hard 51. So sometimes Bernard puts a speed buff on your team. Sometimes he derps and doesn't do it. That's kind of one of the downsides of Bernard. But normally he does. Even if he casts it the second turn, it's not too bad. So he's just going to be here to just keep putting attack debuff and then keep providing that speed buff for your team, just to make sure everyone's just fast enough to get a lot of turns before the enemy moves once. So we're just going to let Bernard do his thing. Everyone else is just going to, I have 2 healers, so I'm pretty much in no danger of dying. I have an armor buff with my talc. I have an AoE stun with Veramos just to, keep them CC'd. This way I take less damage. And I have Bella to heal, and then Bernard's main purpose is just to provide that speed buff. And sometimes the armor break or attack debuff. Most of the time is the attack debuff that's more useful on Bernard. So a lot of people like to use like accuracy on 6 on Bernard. I guess you could do that early on if you were running him for giants and stuff. This way to make sure you always keep the debuff on the enemy. If you have a 6-star Bernard, you could run accuracy on 6. But I think it's a little bit wasted to stack accuracy on Bernard because you don't really need to have his accuracy that high. He only has 1 skill that scales with accuracy, which is his second. So it's probably more important just to make sure Bernard is fast. Probably the most important thing is to make sure your Bernard is fast. If he's fast, he's able to keep buffing speed and make sure he keeps the speed buff on your team at all times. And for TOA hard, the only difference between a Bernard you would build for arena or a Bernard that you would build for TOA hard is his tankiness. If you want to build a Bernard for the arena, you're running this like crazy speed team where you just nuke like crazy. You can even build your Bernard with attack. This way he would hit harder. But for TOA hard, you just definitely want your Bernard to be really, really tanky. And sometimes you would probably even be willing to sacrifice some speed in order to make your Bernard tanky enough. Oh shit, my talc is in danger. He needs to heal up now, or Veramos needs to stun someone. Alright, that attack debuff would come in really handy if he puts it on one of the Ninetales right now. But it should be fine because he did buff up that speed buff. So now everyone is a lot tankier, or not tankier, a lot faster. This way my talc has enough time to heal back up to full, and my Bella will get enough turns to help heal my talc back up to full as well. And Bernard use that speed buff again, attack bar fill, and then I just get more turns. So as you can see, I'm moving like 3 or 4 turns before the enemy moves once, which is really, really nice because this will work even better if I had an AoE slow. So most of the time if I'm doing higher floors where I can't really rely on Bella and talc to just keep healing, I would do something like maybe take out Bella, put in something like Spectra or Shannon to make sure I keep the AoE slow on the enemy. And this works especially well with Bernard because you have the speed buff and the AoE slow on the enemy. So the enemy is slower and you're faster. This way you just get more turns. It's like it stacks up. And no, it doesn't. It's not additive. It's like multiplicative. Is that even a word? Yeah, that's a word. Because of how how you're moving faster and the enemy's moving slower. This way you get more turns than the enemy. Something like that. And I'm bad at math. Just don't don't take me too seriously when I talk math, because I have no idea what I'm talking about. I might be Asian, but I'm bad at math. That's just the way it is. Yeah, so this stage is pretty safe. Bernard provided the speed buff to make sure my team was fast enough, and then Talc had his heal, Bella had his heal, Veramos had the AoE stun, and then we have like 2 dots with Beretta and Veramos, and then this Beretta is on Despair to keep the enemy stunned, and then we just have Bernard here to keep the attack debuff, armor break on the enemy, and the speed buff on your team. So it doesn't look like much. It doesn't look like Bernard's doing that much for the team, but he actually is. He's doing a lot for the team. Because without Bernard here, I wouldn't be able to move like this many turns before the enemy is moving. You can kind of count how many times my Bernard's moving, and how many times they move. So Bernard just moved. That Iona just moved. Bernard has his attack bar filled again. He moved a second time, and then that Iona got her attack bar decreased. I'm talking about the left one over here. And then, so my Bernard pretty much just went 3 turns before she moved once. And that's what makes Bernard so strong, because he's not able to just provide this for himself, but he's able to make everyone that fast. So yeah, that's why I really think Bernard's really good monster to 6-star. Not even for TOA hard, just 6-star him early on. You can use him in every single dungeon. You can use him in some cases of PvP if you're deciding to run speed teams as well. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We're just gonna finish this stage up really fast. The Iona, they don't stand a chance because I'm just gonna be stacking dots on her. I'm gonna keep decreasing her attack bar with my my Bretta, and then I'm gonna just keep stunning them with Bretta and Vermals. Bernard's gonna keep that speed buff on my team, and we're just gonna keep this CC train all the way up until they die, pretty much. So yeah, this is the power of attack bar fill and speed buff, able to just grant your team more turns. He is very useful, even if you have Verd. Even if you already have Vertihau, you can still use Bernard in some cases. Where on stages where you can't use Vertihau, you can use Bernard. And you can also pair up Verd with Bernard sometimes. I used Verd plus Bernard to clear the Vermal stage two TOAs ago during hard TOA hard. And yeah, Bernard just provides so much. He's a tank. He's speed buff. He's got attack debuff as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So these are his stats again. I just have him, somewhat tanky with high defense. So he has over 100% HP. As you can see here, his plus HP is higher than his normal HP, and more than 100% defense. And then just some speed, a little bit of accuracy, and some resistance. And that's pretty much all you need for Bernard for TOA hard. Just make sure he's fast and tanky, and with a little bit of accuracy. That's all you need. So that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This this new series that I'm starting, just random monsters for TOA hard, and hopefully this helped you guys, decide on what monsters you might want to raise in the future, especially if you're getting into the late game. You have a Giants and Dragons team. Maybe you're thinking of trying to climb higher on TOA. All these units really did help me quite a lot. So yeah, that's all. Thank you guys for watching. Happy summoning and peace out.